What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Burning the Red Shirt. A little late in the week action here. Andrew Katz, myself, Chris Kay. Going to do some bowl recap, some 2025 prep, some pondering, some sadness. Andrew, you asked me the other day, "What now?" And I don't know what now. What are you doing now that the season's over?
Being sick for the last few weeks and continuing interminably. Basically just like an above the neck type deal, but like every day I wake up and I've got mucus and just kind of feel shitty. So it's fun. It's
I
exciting.
feel like that's everybody, by the way. I don't feel
outside
great either.
of that. Yeah, you seem that way.
Oh, it's a little nasal, but besides
monitoring
sickness,
some NFL positions, hope to close out the year. Monitoring some NFL positions to close out the year. Hopefully Lamar takes down the MVP. Commanders Super Bowl would be nice. And then Travis Hunter going number one. Each of those would be really nice for me to help pay for the taxes from 2024, if you will.
Yeah, there you go. I think Hunter has a legit shot at number one. I think all these quarterbacks are
it was nice,
kind of lame that the teams don't necessarily want to spend at number one on them.
Yeah, totally. I could see it. It was nice to see that quote from the Titans guy about like not passing on a generational talent. That really flipped the odds back in direction that, at least for now, 3 months out, make me feel like I have a shot with Hunter or Abdul. I have a little bit of him as well, but I don't know. And then you like listen to people actually break it down and think about it critically, and it's like he's just fucking lying. They're gonna end up taking QB or trading the pick, and I think I agree overall. But still, it's fun to have like the fake CLV for now. How did so reflect on 2024? How did things play out for you?
Well, let's see here. Not great. I mean, good, but not great. I mean, like if I'm going to invest all this time, at least I didn't invest like so heavily in daily fantasy like I did last year. Or 2023. Positive. I made money. Can't complain. 2025. I think I lost a lot of money in the first week of 2025, which is a bummer for tax purposes, but it is what it is. I think I'm learning that like everything is getting so much harder. Props, daily fantasy, like having to do underdog and prize picks and parlays. It's just like with it being tougher to just win an individual bet unless you get it down early, right? Like, droolers like you and Mike, you get these freebie bets at the very beginning of the week. I could have it. I still have to find one or two others to bet it with, and that's just such a tricky game. But at the same time, too, it's like, do I really lower or limit my playing in 2025, knowing that, I mean, it's a very real possibility that 2026 is nothing. It's kind of like this weird mix. But overall, good season, fun season. I love doing the stuff at Unabated and Campus to Canton and our stuff. Like it was all good. I made money, and like, I also made great memories too, Andrew, and that's what's most important.
That is important. Why don't you just get your P2s, and then you could be a driller like us.
Get on Fliff. Fliff is like banning and then really making it hard on people to withdraw. So you might not want to consider that in the future. It doesn't seem like Fliff is having a lot of ton of success. So I don't know.
I know. I'm planning this off season to do some assessment analysis, forward thinking, just in terms of like what do I potentially want to, what cookie jars do I want to have my hands in the upcoming season, especially with there being variability in terms of like what the landscape potentially looks like in terms of legality. Like what if NJ loses props? That makes things a lot harder for me. Who's to say what happens? It seems very much up in the air. I don't know if I agree with you about props getting harder though. Like
we don't play the same game. We don't.
But what got harder for you?
Just consistently winning bets. I mean, like the win percentage was lower. If I'm trying to do parlays on underdog, there were times where I was just getting freaking swept, which never happens. And I, mixing and matching and everything, like even ones that felt like freebies were getting beat, like
over this course of the season, things always get harder for sure. But I think compare last season to the season. I don't know. The one thing I will say, in terms of like a primary difference that I think I'm seeing year over year is that there's some of the buckets that we like for freebies, like for instance, backup quarterbacks annihilating an offense, right? We see that we're gonna see that less and less because every team goes 2-3 deep because of the talent getting dispersed so much more throughout the FBS level. It sucks. Like we don't have as many backup quarterbacks that just can't throw a football anymore, and like that is one of the primary contributors, I think, to quote unquote freebies, right? Like a backup just torpedoing an offense. You kind of predict that it's not baked into the lines, and then you just kind of button mash. But I don't know. I think we only saw it like maybe 2-3 times this year, and like in the previous years, it was a lot more common.
Yeah. So all that to say, right? Like it is, the edges are certainly losing its shine, right? Like it's not like there are definitely times, right? I think the beginning of the season is profitable if you have the right angle, the right idea. I certainly got screwed by like every white quarterback in college football. I'm telling you, I lost like $10,000 or $15,000 on like Quinn Ewers, Drew Aller, and Peyton Thorne. Like every combination of going under or over, it didn't matter. I think I need to lean more into the data that we have just from like doing our results of like what wins the most, what loses the most. Like if you had to guess just based on like pass yards, rush yards, receiving yards, overs and unders, like the combinations, what do you think wins the most? What do you think loses the most?
Did you see our boy Bacon Field's graphic?
I did, yeah.
How did that compare?
Some similarities, not the fullest of. Let me pull it up. Give me a guess of what you think it was for me and our stuff.
Yeah, I always feel that the thing that I have the best handle on is QB passing yards. Like it's so like it feels like there's not just less guesswork, but the amount of things I need to, generally speaking, stack together throughout a game for it to play out against how you would expect it to. Like one play generally isn't flipping that, right? Of course, sometimes you'll see like the dumbest shit, like a QB completes like 5 passes for 240 yards, but more or less like a QB, like when you get screwed on QB passing one way or another, it's garbage time more or less. More so than like just one play flipping things, which is like with rushing and receiving yards, like that's all it takes sometimes. So I would say like that tying that in, because less dumb shit happens with QB passing yards, I would expect that to be one of the more profitable areas.
Wrong, at least for us. At least in terms of like how our system works. And that's not to say that it's not correct, because Bacon Field actually puts like pass completions, pass touchdowns, and pass attempts were his highest 3, like at significant margins, like 91%, 81%, 74% for those 3. Pass yards were our worst. And I think you're correct. One play doesn't impact as much, except like if Travion Henderson doesn't go 75 yards for a touchdown right before halftime and overhits because of it in the end. Yeah. But like, think about how many times a blowout kills your over. Like Riley Leonard had great overs of like 178 yards, 185 yards, and then he just didn't throw a pass in the fourth quarter. And he was at like, let's say 160. Like that's where we got beat a ton, was these blowouts where Peyton Thorne threw it one time in the fourth quarter and he needed 7 yards, or he threw it 30 times in the first half for some reason and he cleared the over easily. Yeah. So pass yards were our worst, like significantly. Our best were receiving yards, and our best was specifically receiving yard unders.
Oh,
so
that is a fun that is a fun angle, especially when a guy's playing time is scaling down and it's not necessarily captured.
I mean, because what happens, right, is you get a little bit of like all the different things that could happen. A blowout happens, that helps, sure, like a big play can happen, but that just is what it is with the sport. But also too, the other point was like unders just in general are smarter, and like everybody's preached it forever. We obviously did better on unders, but it wasn't like a crazy number. Like our rush yard over versus under was better on the under, but it wasn't like significantly better. But Bacon Field's second worst bet was receiving yards. He went 49% of them.
Interesting.
Yeah, kind of interesting. But this is the hard part, right? Like Am I really? Where can I bet receptions? All that, that's not that offer that much on
Right. I was gonna
Underdog,
say like
which is a great one to bet.
Yeah, I would guess if you had access to the granular data that fueled his graphic, the sample size for like a lot of those, like the pass attempts one, it's probably not that large, relatively speaking, compared to like the yards ones.
Yeah, but also too, right? Like this is just kind of how it is. I'm in Georgia. I can't bet pass completions or pass attempts. Like I look at the board on unabated that shows me where I can bet
He
stuff.
doesn't have that shit.
Sometimes it does, but it's not the same number. It's not like the intriguing great number. Like we were crushing at the end with rush attempts. Like we kept betting Katron Allen over rushing attempts. Not once did that pop up on Underdog.
Most
So
legals
maybe
don't have
the
those.
final.
Most legals don't have those. It's like basically like FanDuel a decent amount of time,
ESPN.
and then ESPN. But like
Fliff had it a bunch too if you had Fliff. Fliff was like the softest. If you're PSA, if you're out there, Fliff was. You should plan on betting on Fliff if you can. Fliff was 100% the softest. Every time that I did a show, every time that I was looking at edges, like every single time it was Fliff.
Have you heard your boy Captain Jack talk about Fliff from a strategic perspective? Like,
yeah, we kind of did a thing at Unabated where we tweeted about it, about how like there's risk. I almost sent this to you from Discord, but he kind of puts out kind of like a PSA about how like there is risk in it and you have to plan accordingly, but like there is profit to be had. So like if you go to Unabated Sports Twitter handle, there's a picture, and from the Discord he says risk tolerance is a question only you can answer for yourself. I've made a lot of money being able to overlook the safety of an investment. These gray market books are probably a lot safer than anything we were dealing with in the offshore world 20 years ago. Back then, getting stiffed for 50 to 100K was common and very much worth it, which is wild to think about. Could you imagine being stiffed 50K?
No, it's insane.
If I got stiffed 5K, I'd fucking go nuts.
Dude, it gets all up in my feelings when I'll see like legitimately sharp people like post that they had like 30K on a side for the national title game. I'm like, holy shit, bro. Like we're just living in different worlds.
It's crazy. So yeah, I mean it is what it is at this point, but yeah.
Oh, but what I was gonna say on the year-end wrap-up pod that I listened to with Jack and TV at Work, Jack talked about how like basically like the soft lines that Fliff has, like that's not a technological error like that you see and hear about with like a lot of PPH books. Like their technology is shitty, it's slow, and that contributes to the lines not moving as quickly as like in other places. He theorizes that that's not the case here, that they're basically using that as a marketing tool and tactic because they have access to like all the, because they operate under sweepstake law, they access that 18 to 20-year-old demographic, so they are just, and like in addition to everyone else, so they're basically like they're using they're throwing out soft lines intentionally to get people in and get them betting, knowing that like yeah they're gonna lose some money, but like they're capturing such a crazy market share of like people that have no fucking clue what they're doing that it's like it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, what ultimately happens with all these sites, and I think you're calling it out correctly with Fliff, is that they just want to get people in, and then they'll just handle the rest, right? Yeah. Oh, you're winning a lot, like okay, like you're one of the smart ones. All right, see ya. Like here's $17 a bet, and the thing with Fliff is the tough part is the withdrawals are long. Like for me and you. I could withdraw and have no issue because like I'm not withdrawing more than $5,000. Like I'm just not putting enough down, and I'm not getting enough action to do that if I did play on Fliff or bet on Fliff. But like some of these guys are betting enough where it's like I gotta wait 3 months to get three $10,000 withdrawals. Like it's a little bit different life, but
yeah.
What let's shift to bowl season. Like what from any angle, what was it? What were some takeaways from bowl season?
Oh man, bowl season is still exactly what I want it to be from a betting perspective. Like so much information driven. It's basically just week one spread over the course of like 30-40 days. Like it's so profitable. It's really just the best. So nothing's really changed there. The variability associated with like the roster shakeups, right? Inevitably, you're gonna have like a day or two where you just either read things wrong or you like things just don't go your way. It sucks. Just kind of I went into it mentally preparing for it, given like I had kind of the same thing happen in 2023. Like just one day was just a total nightmare. Had it again happen in 2024. It still sucked, but I didn't go on like crazy tilt or anything, so that was nice. I think it's smart to think about bowl season as like two distinct segments: the regular bowls and then like the playoff games. In terms of if you're betting them from, especially with props, like you should bucket them differently and treat them differently. The playoff games are just gonna be so much more efficient. They're basically like the equivalent of late season CFB games where there's so much data baked into those, and like the prop lines are gonna be really sharp. Of course, like every now you might get an exception in terms of like with injury stuff, but like more or less, like those lines are gonna be on the nose. Where compared to like the regular bowl games where it's like it's awesome. Let's go through our three favorite bowl games each. It could be for like selfish purposes or just like generally like this was awesome and I enjoyed watching this.
Well, before we get into that, maybe this gives us a moment for each of us to determine which those three are.
Those criteria.
Are you one of these like Army Navy guys that like requires that Saturday be clear and easy, or where do you stand on Army Navy real quick?
Which angle are we talking about? From like the angle
from like sharing the day with the bowl game, and also the Celebration Bowl. People are always like, oh, it shared a day with South Alabama, Western Michigan, but like, which by the way, weirdly enough, looks like the ISIS salute to Veterans Bowl. If you look at the
I do see that. I do see that.
I can't unsee it now, but yeah, what do you think about it sharing with a couple of random games?
I loved it. We had like that was a nice way to kick off bowl season. Pritchett getting ruled out and being able to make some money off that with voicing overs, which thank God barely hit. But it was nice. I liked the string of events of Army Navy into the Heisman into the random bowl game. Like that was a nice way for Saturday to play out. So no complaints for me.
All right, so I'll give you one of my bowl games.
Okay.
To start. Clemson, Texas. I thought it was a great game, and I won a lot of money. Like that was just a fun game. Yeah. Like it's not every day that you get like a game where it just works out totally in your favor. Like I had all these Clemson receiving overs and Klubnik overs. The only thing I lost was Wisner because he got hurt, like attempts, but I won his yardage. So it was great. I mean, that was a fun game back and forth. I thought for a minute they could get it back, and that was also the game I told you about that I turned on at the sushi place on my HBO Max subscription. So that one will hold a place near and dear to my heart. What about you?
Yeah, that one's up there for me as well. We did that Saturday at my buddies, and I won a bunch of money as well. I had Klubnik versus Ewers passing yards. Klubnik at 4-1. So seeing that play out was like, wow, that actually went exactly how I was hoping and thought it could. So at 4-1, that's not bad at all. My turn to throw my hat into the ring, I guess. See, the problem is like I'm looking at all these games now, and I realized like so many of these I just followed on my phone and like didn't actually watch because I'm a loser and prefer to like to
spend time with your family.
No, sweat games that way.
That's a weird way to sweat games, but it's your prerogative.
Yeah, I mean, I had such a good time during the Natty. Went out and got fucked up with our boy Reed Wallach. Not as fucked up as I usually get during the Natty, but
was that better? Did you like that better?
It just different. Better the next day. I was still like somewhat hungover, but like usually I can't move off the couch. But I was able to like do some stuff. But it was nice getting Goat House most receiving yards in the game, 100-1 home. Can't complain.
Parlayed with
UC Irvine minus 3,200. just to skirt DraftKings limits. So
what a random combination of things. Random question: at what age are we not allowed to do the whole like so hungover we can't get off the couch thing?
The problem is
what age are you hanging that up?
Right?
What's that?
The problem is that only becomes more common. Like even if we scale
or
back,
easier, right?
yeah,
I feel
I don't
like
know.
that's like a once every year or two thing for me. I think it has to be like I think the only time I would ever get to that point again is like an event like a wedding or something like that where I see all my friends that I haven't seen since the
Yeah,
last wedding. I think that really is and it's like, you're at a hotel in like a random city. I think that's when it would happen.
that's fair. Snake draft. So I'll go again. Even though the game kind of broke my heart in terms of like from a prop perspective, the Louisville Washington game, I caught most of that, and that game was sick. Seeing Demond actually like not have to go up against some hellacious defense and like showcase like that dude really has like I thought the passing wasn't going to be there, but like kid is so poised, accurate, can throw deep, and like the wheels are
And
insane.
you bet a crazy Heisman bet on him, didn't you?
I did that, yeah.
I
The
heard. You
Heisman,
don't tell me these things anymore, but I heard.
yeah. Well, I was thinking like, did we talk
Well, you
about
don't want
this?
to rub it in my face because
Well,
it's just
I only got $22 on it because of limits, but
20. What is it? 22 to win what? It's probably like what 1,500 or 2,000 or something.
2,700. But yeah, FanDuel
Pretty
opened him
nice.
at 120 to 1 right before the natty. So maybe he does the Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson type thing and wins on stats, right? It's not. I don't think it's impossible because they're going to lose some games, but I think that they will be improved this year, and I think he could put up insane numbers.
I mean, what a great performance! Like I liked him. Would not claim him as any sort of person that was mine. I
No,
have a
me
little
either.
bit of him because I just like listen to people and I respect some
Yeah,
some people's opinions. So I draft if I have to based on that sometimes. But man, did he look good! Like I'm like, holy shit, this guy's gonna blow up. So next year, the problem is right. They got Oregon, they have Illinois at Michigan, Ohio State.
it's
So
tough.
he's got to have a great
We don't
season.
have
But he
dates,
also
right? We
what's
don't
that?
have dates yet,
We have dates for that. Yeah,
do we? What's his playoff schedule?
his playoff schedule will be the last 3 weeks are Purdue at UCLA, Oregon.
That's nice.
That's solid. He's got
Yeah.
the early week 3 bye, week 4 Apple Cup. That's weird. But yeah, I am about as intrigued as it gets when it comes to Damon Williams. Like,
Yeah.
that could be a risky thing for me. All right, so I will say I'm gonna cheat. Shocker. Friday, December 27th was pretty sick from like a college football game standpoint, and I'll tell you
That was my nightmare day.
that was your nightmare day.
Yeah, I
It's a
lost
bummer.
a shitload of money that day.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, it's
We
fine.
started with Oklahoma Navy. Awesome random game to start the day. Georgia Tech Vandy was a tight enough game and a weird lightning strike. We had the great Zevi Eckhouse game with Syracuse, Washington State, and like Syracuse just slinging it. USC Texas A&M to end the day was awesome. That was a great game. Didn't stay up for it, but I watched enough of it. And then I think we saw like some cool performances in Texas Tech, Arkansas, with like Jacoby Williams and like how that all played out. That like because Quentin Joyner was committed to Texas Tech before that, correct?
Yeah, he was playing.
So, well, I just meant more from a standpoint of like I went into that game thinking like Quentin Joyner is gonna be awesome. Like can't wait to see him next year. And then Jacoby Williams just freaking blew up.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so I think that was a fun game. I mean, it was a fun day of games. You got a little bit of everything. And I'm so happy Zevi Eckhouse is back at Washington State.
Yeah, I'm almost. Yeah, that's the next game I'm gonna watch because
You're
trying
gonna
to
love
watch.
Zevi Eckhouse.
You
He
watched?
looks cool and he freaking slings it like recklessly. It's so good.
Nice.
I think the drooler answer for this is Texas Arizona State because that game was absolutely insane. Did you actually watch that one?
No, not a second.
Dude, just go to the second half. Just watch like really the midway through the third quarter and on. That game was incredible. The other game I was going to mention, and this will be great because of a certain recommendation I had in just the audacity of Jackson Dart. Ole Miss against Duke was as degenerately incredible as it gets. I had told people to bet ladders of Jackson Dart
Thank you.
up to 400 yards. He's at like 346, just a great performance. and then he audibled and threw like a 60-yard touchdown pass.
I would have woken up my whole house if I was awake for that.
It was awesome from just a complete degenerate standpoint. Just so awesome. So I will add Duke Ole Miss into my top 3.
Very cool. And then I'll round out with Minnesota Virginia Tech because Elijah Spencer made me a lot of money. So
he was cool, man. That was a good game. It's a bummer for Tech. We suck, but oh well. We're crushing that portal. We're crushing the portal again.
Candidate for this year.
Yeah, I mean, we have to see significant progress. Like, we got to win 8 games, I think. We might have to win more than that. Like, we have to beat UVA, and I think we have to probably win 8 or 9 games, which I don't know. I'm not sure that it's possible. It is and it is that I think, like, not great that we start with South Carolina, and then we play Vandy. Not a great start with Diego Paveo back. We also play Miami. We play at NC State, at Georgia Tech. It's not the soft. It's a pretty mid schedule. Like Miami, Louisville is interesting, but they're at home. Cal at home is not a big deal. Florida State is not anything cool anymore. So like it's possible, but we got to win 8 games, and you can't lose to like Old Dominion or Wofford or something stupid like that.
Bonus game for me is TCU. Surprisingly just showing up and taking care of business. Like it was like that was just that the script for that played out exactly how I wanted it to from like a betting perspective. But like when it's Dykes in a bowl game, I feel like there's huge variability in terms of how stuff could play out. Like the team could just no show. It could be like a game that has 90 points between both sides. But like it was nice. Nice to kind of just see things go how I wanted them to in there. So that's my bonus one.
It was not surprisingly you added that. A 34-3 game gets included in your top bowl games of the season. Was there a player that like you walked away from and was like, besides Demond? I think Demond is the guy for at least me where I'm like, oh boy, like I'm gonna have a lot of that. Was there another guy that you were thinking?
McAllister.
Is he? What's the deal with that offense next year? It's obviously Hoover, running back. Who cares? Receiver. McAllister's back, and who else?
You can't say running back. Who cares? Because Kendall Briles is still the OC, and I think that this year's results are not indicative of how we should project going forward. Like, yeah, Cam Cook was sucked. Yes, I had 80% of him on underdog, but like the O-line was a disaster, and from a run blocking perspective, and the guy that they tried to push into the RB1 slot and put all their eggs in that basket just ended up not being very good, and everyone else was mid, right? But like, they brought in who'd they bring in as a transfer? Do you remember? Let me look it up. They brought someone in.
They brought someone in. I'm not. Kevorian Barnes was one of them.
That was it. Kind of intriguing.
Kind of. By the way, I say who cares because this is a Josh Hoover podcast, and I wanted to get straight to Josh Hoover.
Okay, that's fine.
Impact. So, I mean, Kevorian Barnes is interesting, but like if that's your one, I think we might actually legitimate mean who cares. Like, I don't see Kevorian Barnes. I mean, like, sure, Amani Bailey wasn't anything special either, but like, I don't know. That feels like a little bit of a stretch to be very hype on Barnes. You know who you should be hype on?
I could sell myself on it if like if we're getting vibes and reports that like he is ascending. Like we've seen him look amazing in the past. It's been like 3 years or whatever, but like you just said, like they made Amani Bailey a superstar. Joseph Manjack is definitely gonna be annoying, like JP Richardson, right?
That's what I was just gonna say. Is you should be excited about Joseph Manjack.
Fuck that guy, dude.
They got a guy from Idaho.
What's that?
They got a guy from Idaho.
At what position?
At receiver, Jordan Dwyer.
Oh, I missed that. They got the LSU tight end too.
Pimpton.
Yeah.
Marion Pimpton. Dwyer went 78 for 1192 and 12 touchdowns last season at Idaho. 6 foot.
Yeah, I mean, they need to reload at receiver, right? So,
I mean, because all they have is McAllister, and then obviously the Manjack transfer. Who else returns at that group? Beck.
That guy. So they have Blake Newell, who like kind of sucks. And then they have that guy, I forget his name, but they run him on sweeps and he's like lightning fast, but I don't think he actually has receiver skills. But yeah, they needed to stock up. Like if you're gonna have Hoover slinging it 50 times a game, you need some guys who can actually run routes and catch the ball.
I'm intrigued on Jordan Dwyer. I'll have to ask random people about it. I'll have to ask like Mox and
I was gonna say that
Ian Allen, Nicky Allen, because they watch the weird FCF stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting, because he didn't do anything in 2023. We'll have to investigate. They also had Giovanni McCoy. All right, I'm gonna write that one down. What let's see. You know who surprisingly was awesome was Iowa State's pass game. Rocco Beck was like a top, for underdog purposes, I think he was like a top 20 passer, maybe even a top 15 passer quarterback for P4.
They're trying to recreate the magic too, right? They brought in some receivers with experience and like statistical output. You can tell it seems like they want to run back the, hey, let's just have Rocco get 15 targets a game to these two guys and funnel our offense through that type deal. Who did they get? They got Chase Sewell and they brought
Xavier Townsend.
Yeah, so I guess the idea is like he plays a slot like Noel.
Noel, yeah.
Sewell, I guess, is Higgins.
Yeah, he's like your traditional X receiver.
Yeah.
The Camus to Canton guys are all over that transfer. I mean, it makes sense. Who else do they have? I mean, they have the Army guy, Isaiah.
I was just gonna say, yeah, your boy, the Army guy.
And then Ben Nagoyi, who I had to hit up Sleeper about multiple
times. And they bring back it sucks. We can't get the
Daniel Jackson.
Yeah, we can't get.
Man.
We won't get people drafting the wrong one this year because there's only one.
Yeah, that will be sad. That only happened a few times, but when it did, it was great.
I don't know. He had like around 14 ADP for a while.
So what do you think about Rocco Beck? Like, I mean, he actually ran for 300 yards and 8 touchdowns, albeit 14 games.
Yeah,
I mean,
where does he go in like UD next year? I probably won't draft him. I feel like it'll be higher than I want.
Great question. So he ended up as quarterback 15, I think, if my numbers are right.
So that's like no, higher.
Quarterback 15 will probably be like 4th round because there was like 8 picked in the first 2 rounds last time. Yeah. I mean, he basically threw for 3,000 yards and ran for 275 with like a combined 30 touchdowns. Like, I could see it increasing. I mean, they threw 456 times last year in the 14 games. So, like, really, it was like 390 in 12-game season. So,
yeah,
the volume's getting there. And I'm surprised as I do research on quarterbacks and stuff, like, yes and no, like, but like high volume guys really did great last year in the P4. Like, you could be just as good at a situation drafting a high volume, cement block that throws a ton compared to like Mateer's running ability. Like, obviously Mateer is insane, but like, so I'm not necessarily tied to my typical type, I think, in 2025, where it's like run only. Like, if they don't run, I'm out. Like, I think some of these guys, especially with like the smaller player pool that we're about to have, or probably likely going to continue to have, which is just P4 only. Like, so it'll be interesting. Do you have any quarterback takeaways? You've always kind of been a volume guy more than a run guy. Like, you love like the whole, Hoover, North Texas types.
Oh yeah. I am a Hoover fanboy for sure, but now he's gonna get expensive. So
I was just gonna say, where do you think he lands?
Fourth
quarterback? Oh,
no,
fourth round. Yeah, I think probably that feels about right.
Castellanos, I think, will be so interesting to see where he goes.
I think I need to not do that.
Well, you took him last year when he was in a bad system, but now he's in the perfect system. So
it would make sense for me to not do it. Yeah, you're right. I said the other day that his upside is probably Jordan Travis 2022. Because he didn't get hurt in that year, so he had like a full season. Well, I guess it was the same thing as 2023. But like, I think, man, I forgot that he started at Louisville.
Why isn't it JRP in Malzahn's system in 2023?
I mean, do you really want that Thomas Castellanos running like JRP amounts?
Isn't that why we want him?
We want him to run. We don't want him to run 160 times where he's going to die.
I don't know.
Right? Like, I think if you told me 350 passing attempts and 100 rushing attempts, like, all in. And that's almost what Jordan Travis did in 2022. He had 353 and then 82 rushing attempts. So, like, he kind of got there. 31 combined touchdowns. Like, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. We also need some receivers there. Are you sold on Deuce Robinson and the other guy they brought in? Who was the other guy they brought in?
Why? I mean, you don't want receivers that Thomas Castellanos is throwing to.
You want, as Castellanos drafter, you want actual bodies, though, is my point. Like, you want real people to catch passes.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Oh, Squirrel White.
Your boy.
Squirrel White's the other guy.
You went to Florida State?
You went to Florida State.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't want Squirrel. I'm not doing that again. I'm not riding that ride. But I do need some sort of level of competency out wide.
Bo Prabilla or Miller Moss next year?
That's difficult. Probably Miller Moss.
Agreed.
Barely, though. I am who I am. I'm intrigued by Bo Prabilla's. I think the Campus to Can't guys like Austin, Colin, and some of the Mox and Jared, they are very down on Bo Prabilla. And I'm like, yeah, he's not I don't think he's a good quarterback, but like, why can't he be good in college? Right?
Yeah, I think he could be really, really fun for fantasy.
But will Missouri's offense let us have fun with him?
What is your understanding of their offense?
It's hard, right? Because like Brady Cook is not the same quarterback.
They ran him into the ground more or less.
Well, not as consistently as you'd remember, right? Like they didn't kill him.
This year is so 2023 is a better indicator. This year he got hurt like pretty much immediately, and I think that affected their play calling.
He ran double digits just 5 times in the regular season last year in 2023. He had games of 3, 4, 6, 5, 9, 7, and 6. Albeit Memphis was 4 and South Dakota was 3. I think he ran less than you remember. Like to me, Bo Prabilla is going to run like in the right offense, like the right style, like to fit into him. He's like 150 to 160 attempts.
Yeah.
And Cook was 113 that year. And that was with that. You know what you're remembering is that Ohio State bowl game where it was just he ran 19 times. So I don't know. I mean, how close do you think Prabilla is to Miller Moss in that scenario?
I prefer Moss, but I think that they could settle in from a drafting perspective, like going in the same area.
I think they'll be very close together after looking at it. What do you think about Sawyer Robertson at Baylor?
He is the darling of so many, right? It's easy to like a lot of things. Is playing in the Big 12 automatically moves you up a little bit, I think, because we're back to like the Big 12 more or less being the Big 12. Every game's a carnival. There's some teams are a little annoying, right? Like Houston this year dragged every game into the mud. BYU, some kind of did the same thing, but like a little more effectively offensively. But more or less, like most of these teams, it's just going to be points, cool shit. They retain Spavital at OC, right? Which is nice. He lit it up. So I don't know. There's not much to argue with there. What would you put him? Would you think about him similarly as Hoover?
I think I'd rather have Hoover.
Yeah, but just do you think they're in like a similar bucket in terms of like a similar cluster?
Close, yeah.
Yeah.
I probably not the same, but close. Like I could see Hoover being like 4th, 5th round, and then like Robertson being like that 6th, 7th round. So like very close, but a little bit lower. Kind of like how like who was Castellanos was like a 5th rounder last year, right? End of 4, early.
He was like 3rd.
Interesting. I thought he was a little bit lower, but anyways, like that tier down where all of a sudden it was like Riley Leonard and like maybe the better comparison is like how Carson Beck got picked in like the 5th round. He was like the 5th round. And then, but you saw like your Shucks and your Leonards last to like the 7th ish, right? That kind of ballpark. I think
so you think Robertson is more Shuck and Leonard? That's fair.
I'm not saying in terms of like how I think they'll perform, but yeah, I think we'll see them drafted. What's interesting is they play. Their schedule is interesting. Auburn and at SMU to start. They also play Houston, Utah. Kansas State's fine. Oh, I'm not really worried about that. They also play at Cincinnati, at Oklahoma State, at TCU. So those are like great. Great for it. What I think we just kind of answered it, but I would imagine you probably would rather have Bryson Washington over Sawyer Robertson. Like if you're gonna have one Baylor player, which guy would it be?
Yeah, as of right now, I would think that it makes sense to rate Bryson Washington really, really high. Just look at those game logs down the stretch. I don't know what their O-line situation looks like coming back, but as of right now, I see little reason not to think that like copy pasting his touches and production down the stretch from 2024 to 2025 feels sensible.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I trust, but I think I get it. I think the running back room is so much thinner than the quarterback room, and just wait till you see receivers like we talked about.
They still have Reese and Pendergrass, presumably. Maybe that clears out a little bit, but like those guys, like Bryson just shoved them to the side.
Yeah, and then Pendergrass had a bunch of carries in that LSU bowl game and really wasn't all that good. Like in terms of like
did they both get hurt in that game? Well, Washington got knocked out early, and then I think Pendergrass got hurt later in the game. But I think that speaks to like his amount of Pendergrass got carries because Washington got knocked out in like the first quarter.
Well, they don't have Dominic Richardson anymore, which I am baffled.
Did you see where he went?
New Mexico State.
Which is annoying because like us, the Seth McGowan fan club didn't want to see that.
I didn't realize there was a fan club. You were really in on New Mexico State because you were really in on Monty Watkins, right? And that just did not work at all, correct?
It did not work at all.
Even if you got the right running back, that did not work.
The thesis wasn't terrible. Like they ran the ball. Like if I don't have the statistics, but like if you look at pass run rate for a team, like they ran it, I would guess like 95th plus per percentile. And yes, that speaks to some degree to like what they were trotting out at quarterback, which was an abomination. But also that offensive system that they have there, like the Tony Sanchez stuff, like basically he was doing what they did at UNLV. It's just run. Doesn't matter how many points we get down, we're going to run more. What was annoying was, okay, Monty continued to get like 2 or 3 touches a game, and then Mike Washington and McGowan kind of just like traded off game to game. It felt like there was like no way to really take advantage of the amount of rush volume that the team at large got.
Yeah, I mean, they ran like basically 61% of the time. But the problem was that McGowan and Washington split carries like almost evenly, completely.
Did you see where Washington went?
He went too high, correct? Where did he go?
He went to Utah.
Yeah, he's not going to play much there.
No. I kind of think it doesn't work at Utah with Dampier and Beckett and all them. Like, have you ever watched Dampier play?
A little bit.
I'm almost done watching the Hawaii New Mexico game. That offense, like, okay, it's the Big 12, so like I don't want to make claims about how defenses will be strong or whatever, but the offense is basically every play is basically jet sweep to Eli Sanders, Dampier run, Dampier bomb, Dampier fake run and pop pass that comes out of his arm and immediately goes into the ground. It's like I don't know how that offense works against any defense that has any clue of what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and act like I know if it'll like the actual style of offense will work. I think everybody said it already about Dampier and like his outlook. It is such a bummer that these guys don't stay at the G5 level for us, but I get why they do it for them. They're not here for us, but I don't know. I think Utah's defense won't. I think it also helps. Like Mox and them had said, like the New Mexico defense was so bad, like astronomically bad, that we just saw so much cool shit out of Dan Pierre in the offense because they had to. But we're not gonna see that. But again, it's still the Big 12, and like,
right.
I don't know. They still got to score 28 to 35 points. How are they going to do it? Like, who's the running back? Not Mike Washington. Who's the running back there?
I don't know. Bernard is thankfully gone.
Although I think, didn't they say that he had another year of eligibility?
Really?
I think someone was like, yeah, he's got another year of eligibility. He just doesn't want it. Let's see here.
They brought in Naquaria Rogers from New Mexico, Mike Washington, and Wayshawn.
Oh, Wayshawn Parker. I keep forgetting that he went there. And I always feel like he's smaller than he actually is. Like, he's not actually a small guy.
Really? I assume he's like 5'5".
No. So I thought the same thing. He's like 6 foot.
Stop.
I'm telling you right now, I went my entire life thinking that he was like 5'7", $170. He's 6 foot 199, according to ESPN. And he's got a little bit of chubby cheek in him on the picture. Like, he's not like he doesn't look like he's skin and bones, like he's got like twigs for legs.
It's interesting. Isaac Wilson is still there. I spent so much time on Utah message boards this year because, like, name a team that is more like information, crazy shit happening than Utah. You can't, right? So, like, I'm on their message boards all season. Their fans fucking hated Isaac Wilson. Like, I didn't watch that much of the games. I watched a decent amount, but like, they made it sound like he was just a nightmare and like regressed. Like, started off the season filling in for Rising with a couple of good games, and then like it just really went downhill. I don't know. I don't know if it was really that bad, but him still, like, I'm pretty sure I will have 0 Dampier this year.
I think he's just going to be drafted so high, and the quarterback room is so good.
Yeah.
Like, as it currently stands, at least in the early drafts, I just don't know how you don't go after the like more surefire flex guys, because there's just so many question marks at who's going to be the guy in all these areas.
Yeah.
Do you think Cardell Tate transfers? Do you see that? Somebody asked him. I was going to give an edge.
It does feel like there's some smoke, right?
Texas and Oregon in contention.
Just gonna be a highest bidder situation.
And then obviously stay at Ohio State. If you had to guess, what's the order that you'd want it to be? Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, like in terms of where he goes? Evan Stewart's dust if Cardell Tate goes to Oregon, correct?
It's tough.
Arch Manning's number 1 seems pretty cool.
That's a good point.
Oregon's offense is probably more friendly to a receiver 1 than Texas, correct? Volume-wise.
Yeah. It would be fun to see him at Oregon.
But would you rather him be with Dante or Arch Manning? I feel like I'd rather him with Arch in Oregon's offense, but obviously we can't get
that. Let's say Oregon.
I think Oregon's the right answer, but I don't know if it actually happens. If he stays at Ohio State, like, is that a good thing? Like, still relatively a good thing? Like, Jeremiah Smith's going to be awesome.
Do we have any idea what's going to happen with QB?
That's the problem, right? Is like, it's the quarterback stuff.
Yeah.
I've only heard negative things about saying from people that I actually think know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So, anything before we wrap up?
Pleasantly surprised that we have the Sunday and Monday Labor Day games written in stone at this point. 2 good ones, right? I'm especially interested in the Monday night one. Always try and schedule a date night for that Labor Day night. Keep the party going an extra day. And that'll be a nice game to have going in the background of date night, TCU, UNC. Watch Hoover and Dykes obliterate Belichick and have him cry and go back to the NFL or some shit.
He's going to be like, what the hell am I watching right now?
Yeah.
Like,
who starts at UNC in that game?
I don't know. Not Criswell. He joined the FCS.
If you had to bet and I gave you...
It's going to be Max Johnson.
Yeah, so let's say Max Johnson's minus 200, Ryan Brown is plus 400, and then I'm not good at bookmaking, so we'll say even money for a transfer, what would you bet?
Max Johnson, yeah, 100%. I just don't see Belichick
him and his leg.
It's one leg. I just don't see Belichick as a guy that would start a true freshman game one. And also, like, what would they get in the portal?
Who is true freshman? That guy.
I was thinking Bryce. Is it Bryce Baker, the freshman?
Yeah. It
ain't gonna be Ryan Brown. That guy. There's no way. The Purdue transfer? No way.
People pretend he's good.
No, Max Johnson.
Yeah,
Max Johnson won a job last year. Now, if you told me who would be starting week 4, it would be potentially a different answer, right? Because then Belichick will have seen it against a real defense.
Yeah. What do you think about Notre Dame Miami on Sunday night?
That'd be cool. That's a doubleheader, or at least 2 games. That's because Virginia Tech plays Sunday night.
Really?
I'm fairly positive. Yeah.
Let's look at it.
We just had it. That was the whole thing, was that they were playing 8:31. What day is 8:31?
That's Sunday. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
South Carolina, Virginia Tech. But
I'm not saying that's a cool game. I'm just saying that they do play that day.
Both of those games, though, deserve to be night games. And if you're playing, like, when we've had multiple Sunday games in the past, it's been like Oregon State, San Jose State, and Rutgers Northwestern as like the day games. And like, fine, those are nice appetizers. But you can't have South Carolina, Virginia Tech as like a 3 p.m. Sunday game. I don't think like that is slighting that game.
The Lenore Seller show will be put on daytime TV. Yeah, they announced Notre Dame was at 7:30.
Yeah.
They have not announced the game time for Virginia Tech, South Carolina. But I don't know. You would think it's probably also going to be a night game. And just they're going to double run it back.
There's zero chance that they play both at night.
Maybe it's the old 1:00 game.
It would be great to have both at night.
Would you want both at night? Or I would prefer individual time slots.
Both at night, and then we get like a G5, P5 in the afternoon.
There's no way they're throwing G5 on Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
We got Oregon State, San Jose State a couple of years ago.
We did. You're correct. I stand corrected there. But all right, well, we're wrapping this bad boy up. Hope you guys enjoyed the randomness. That was our bowl wrap up and season review kind of conversation. Hope you guys enjoy the weekend, enjoy the pod, and we'll hopefully catch you guys next week.